Hey, good morning, or actually, I should say good afternoon. It is noon on the East Coast anyway. Dave LaMont with you on your Monday nooner. Happy to be here. Wanted to really spend some time talking about how enjoyable the Open Championship was yesterday. Disappointed for Rory McIlroy, but if you can't understand the greatness of what Cameron Smith did, you don't understand golf, and I think you do. And also Cameron Young with a great performance. And on the old course, a lot of elements there to make it a fun event and compelling right to the last chance where Rory had that little opportunity there, minuscule window. He couldn't make it. Hey, that's the way it goes. But he just couldn't make a damn putt. But as usual, we're overshadowed by live, live, live. And I've had it. If it happens, if all these guys defect that are supposed to be defecting or allegedly defecting or maybe defecting, I'm at a point now where I know what's going to happen to me. I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to stop caring. And then if I don't watch much golf, great. That's fine. I'll find something else to do. Maybe I'll play less golf. Maybe, I played a bunch on my vacation at some beautiful places. Maybe that was a message to me. But I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to support it. I've already made that clear. It's no sense in going over that ground again. I'm over it in that regard. So if guys go, guys go. I'll cut them out of my life. I won't root for them if they're over there. If they're allowed to play major championships, that's great. I can't control any of this, but it's overshadowed the game so much. And you can criticize maybe the PGA Tour has not reacted properly. Maybe they should have never suspended those guys. Just gone, yeah, go ahead. We'll see you. I don't know. I don't know. But they've allowed this 8 tournament bullcrap exhibition nonsense that's strictly all about making money and has nothing to do with growing the game. And I mean, nothing to do about growing the game. And finally, I saw somebody when I was on vacation, Graham McDowell, who kind of admitted on an interview, it was on one of the BBC channels. They said, yeah, it's about the money. Well, thanks, man. I think more people would respect that instead of just lying to our faces about all this other stuff. And if golf is divided and whatever, fine. Let Greg Norman have his little hissy fit, his little blood revenge because he didn't get what he wanted. I It's going to end up destroying the game, I think. And I think it's going to force fans to make a choice. I suppose you could support both. I can't. Not that I'm I don't have PGA Tour tattooed on my chest, but I just I can't get with it. I just can't get with it. And I don't want to get with it, and therefore I won't get with it. So put that on in the fireplace with other things that I don't pay much attention to anymore. I can find other things. I do enjoy football, although not right now. Training camps for the NFL, as I've talked about a billion times in my life, are only about one thing: not getting important people hurt. The second thing is, yes, it's important for the players who are trying to make a team. I'm not overlooking that. But from your perspective and my perspective, it's about not getting people hurt. Same thing with spring football. Why that has been, ramped way down. I remember, God, I can't remember. I think Dennis Erickson was still coaching at Miami, and guys like Warren Sapp were around. And you go down there, and you wouldn't even go to the stadium. You go to the practice field, and they would do a spring scrimmage. And they'd go for 100 plays and just beat the hell out of each other. Now, the season was months off, and there's time to recover. But the more you beat the hell out of each other, you know what the risks are. Well, finally, they figured that out. So that's how I judge preseason for football. Wins and losses. Here's what's going to happen in wins and losses in preseason football. And I'll get back to golf in a minute, but I got started on this. I might as well finish it. If your team wins, it's great. If they lose, did they lose any key players? And then coaches will bend their comments. Well, we really want to get into the habit of winning. It's very important for us that we win these games. We take them all seriously. Or the other guy says, hey, it really matters when September rolls around. September the 8th, I think, is the start of the season. Everybody's got an answer for all of that. So just don't get people hurt who matter to your team. You lose your quarterback now. You lose a key receiver, a key running back, a key defensive player. Your season is in trouble before it starts. Now, as far as the golf goes, there's a bunch of new rumors. By the time you watch this, whatever time of day you do get to see it, there may be defections announced. Let him go, man. It's okay. With nothing we can do about it. And if it's not, but don't tell me you're growing the game. That's a load. How is anybody going to benefit from this when you have a field of 48 people? Now, what they may end up doing is if they get more halfway decent players, they send some of these other guys packing. But when you play 3 rounds for the obscene amount of money, I can see the temptation. I can. And that's what this is all about. Here's a bunch of money. Come tell the PGA Tour to go soak. And that's what they're doing because Greg Norman's having a well publicized and possibly successful hissy fit. Okay, so be it. I'm done with you. I'm done with this subject. This will be the last time I'm going to talk about it out loud. And I hope you are too. Whatever happens, I've stopped caring. At the point now, I'm finished. All right, good. Now, the tournament itself was a blast. Now, I've been lucky. Years ago, I did play St. Andrews. It is a very fascinating place. Every time I look at the 18th and you go past the hotel and over by the Jigger Inn, you have all those townhouses there. That's where I want to live, right there on the 18th. Play there whenever possible. Play the other courses around there because there's some unbelievable places there, and that would be it. I would drop the hell out of sight. Can't afford it. Won't be able to do it. Never going to happen. But don't think that I didn't look at real estate prices in Scotland 14 years ago when I went. God, was it that long? Yeah. Yeah, it was my friend's 50th. So yeah, it's that magical. It is that spectacular to me. If you're not into golf, that's okay. But if you are, I don't imagine. And listen, I was very fortunate on this last trip to be able to do some of the things I did. I'm very, very happy about all of that. But man, oh man, that is an unbelievable place. Hopefully, I don't know why it's taking them so long to come back. It's usually every 5 years. They're talking about it being 7. This might have been a COVID shuffle, I think, as much as anything else, trying to make up for lost time and lost events and things like that. So, but if you are a person who enjoys the game to play, then if you can afford it and you can maybe get some people, even one other person to go with you to have, I played, actually the last round I played over there was by myself, which was a little weird, but I still had a good time and actually played almost good. You can't make mistakes there, by the way. You know how you can blast it into somebody off somebody's house and occasion, I mean, South Florida golf courses tend to be surrounded by homes, condos. It's not always pretty, but you hit a wild one, you bang it off somebody's roof. Every once in a while, it comes back into play. Or we have more trees, all sorts of things. It's just different golf and no hills hardly, or a hill might be like a something like that in your golf cart on the path. So, but this is completely different, and it's a super challenge and very enjoyable. Plus, the areas are fun to visit. So, if you can't do it, by God, do it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit was, live has become a subject that you can't avoid talking about, and another one that I want to avoid talking about, and people just are drawn to it, especially in the last, I'd say, 10 to 15, probably 5 to 10 years, is college football recruiting. Now, I understand that nobody has to tell me the importance of it, believe me, but we are now at the point where people are getting weak-kneed about kids who are signing for next year, not the ones that are coming to play now, the ones who will actually be in uniform in 2022. Where people are getting, well, now you're saying to me, well, Dave, these are 4 and 5-star guys. I get it. But they have another year of high school football to play unless they choose to sit out and just train. But really, I think it's overdone. I'll be honest. And an overhype tends to turn me off in general. If something is overhyped, occasionally I'll go along with that hype. But man, I'll give you an example. The Super Bowl. Do you know how much Super Bowl programming I watch before the game kicks off? Zip. Unless I'm trapped someplace and it's on, but I really won't pay attention to it. But otherwise, I just don't sit around and watch endless, because after a day, you've said everything that needs to be said. The matchup is said. Here's what I think is going to happen. Here's the things you should look for. Here's who will win. That can be summed up in 30 minutes or less. And instead, we're pounded with hours and hours and hours of that. I just don't have an interest in that. I will, let's say the game kicks off, what, 6:18? I might start paying attention at 6 o'clock. You want to see the anthem, see how it's done, um, and all of that. But that's it, man. That's it. Kick it off. Halftime, I'll see if I'm interested in the musical act. I'll watch it. Um, but it's overdone. It is. And so it's the same thing when I'm faced with all this overhype. In golf right now, it's live. In baseball, there really isn't any overhype. You have the baseball draft, which goes by relatively quietly, unless you're a big baseball fan. Because why? Because these guys just don't become pros overnight. In the NBA, in the NFL, yes, you're looking at your first round pick being on your team next year and maybe being a star. My team, the Orioles, who are surprising everybody by being not horrible, just picked a kid out of high school, Jackson Holiday, Matt Holiday's kid. Well, he's not going to. He's not going up to parent club now. He's not going to play next year. They had a so-called can't miss project at catcher and Adley Rutschman, and he just got to the team this year. And he was, what, 2019, 2020? That's how baseball works. That's why you don't get the hype. And of course, the NFL is super good at hype. And they've got, the networks as partners, and it's great programming. And I'm, again, not against the NFL draft, not against the NBA draft, but it just isn't the same. You don't get hour after hour of devoted programming on an ESPN or an ABC even for the baseball draft or the hockey draft for that matter, because it's the same thing. The 18-year-old that your favorite hockey team just drafted is not likely to be there when the puck drops on the next season. You have the minors to go through, which, the NBA has the G League, and you can always run overseas if you want to. But in football, this is it, baby. I guess the USFL could function in that regard. But again, with football, why would you throw yourself out there? We're at the point now with football where it's attrition more so than ever. And that's just how it goes. And it's different. It should be different, but you have to be more. This isn't the 50s and 60s and 70s when you just threw everybody out there and nobody cared. And a doctor might show up with a Band-Aid. What happened? A concussion here. Here's an aspirin. It's changed for the better. Sorry to those who think today's guys just aren't as tough as the old guys used to be. Well, maybe they're not. But the game has changed. The circumstances around it has changed. And most importantly, the value of the players has changed to the point where there's so much money involved, and that's where everything always comes down to in this world, that you have to take better care of these guys. These guys have to take better care of themselves in order to keep those exorbitant salaries. And the owners, who have even more money, have to make sure these players are properly trained, properly everything. So, yes, it always does come down to money. Golf, whatever. It just comes down to money. By the way, have no one thought about doing a live women's tour? Yeah, so I'll throw that out there just for the hell of it, just to see if anybody's paying attention. All right, enough of this. Enough talk about that. I'm looking forward to something, and I'll talk more about it on Friday. Musically speaking, now we're done with this. Enough. Musically speaking, I'm excited about something I wasn't sure I'd ever get a chance to see. And then we've had two postponements on top of it. And that is this 50th anniversary tour of the Doobie Brothers, which is now past 50 years, I think. With Tom Johnston, the originator and the lead vocalist of many of their hits, and Michael McDonald, the guy who took Johnston's place when health knocked him off the road and who stuck around for a while and had a bunch of hits with them. Two completely different musical styles. As you know, or you should know, Johnston was the 3-chord straight ahead, harder rock, catchy as hell, fun. And McDonald was a little, more keyboards. The vocals are obviously different. They're both great singers in their completely different ways. Michael McDonald, by the way, if you have any kind of classic rock records from the 70s and 80s, was everywhere. As a background vocalist, he has to be the greatest background vocalist of all time, at least on the men's side, because of his all the different organizations. Listen to me, the bands that he was affiliated with. So I've seen the Doobies with Michael McDonald. When I started going to concerts, the first time I saw them, they were on the bill with Boston. This is when Boston was off their first record, and they were the lead band, even over the Doobies, who were pretty damn accomplished in the late '70s. But that's how big Boston was. It was Boston, the Doobies, and somebody else at Miami Baseball Stadium. And I can't think. I don't think that was the ill-fated Poco uh, billing where Poco got quit because they were getting booed. I always thought that was Poco, Steve Miller, and Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, Steve Miller would open for Jimmy Buffett. That's good. Buffett was in Miami and Margaritaville had hit. But anyway, Poco was on one of those bills. I think it was the Doobies, come to think of it. Little River Band, Little River Band, Steve Miller, Jimmy Buffett, Poco. Yeah, there was Poco was kind of out of place, kind of a slow country rock band. Didn't quite fit. Anyway, so I've seen them 2 or 3 times with Michael McDonald. Finally, at Sunfest 5 years ago or so, I got to see them with Tom Johnston, and that was great too. So again, different styles, all that other stuff. Now they're doing it together, and this is going to be fun for me. Now we've had a COVID postponement, we had a weather postponement. This concert should have already happened, but we had a potential tropical weather system on our way here. Now, it never really developed in anything but a heavy rain event. No, it was not anything to panic about at all. It just rained a lot, and I ended up driving in some of that. Come to think of it, for work when I did the bowling up in the west coast of Florida in the St. Pete area. But they postponed the concert. So finally Thursday, we don't have any tropical things to worry about. I don't even know if it's going to rain Thursday night because it's an outdoor show. But yeah, here we go finally. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that on Friday and giving you a review. I'm hearing great things about it. I am not the biggest outdoor concert fan. Now, it's going to be hot and humid. We're under, I believe our seats are under, so that's going to help a little bit, just in case it does get a little goofy with rain. But I find that the sound isn't always as good. And the other thing I find is, in a world of pet peeves that we all have, and I'm not talking about anything serious. I'm not talking about politics or anything like that. I'm just talking about, pet peeves that, like, some people don't like ketchup on hot dogs, which I don't understand, but that's okay. That's your business. Or people who, just dumb stuff like that. Well, to me, one of my probably top 5 pet peeves, number one being speed bumps, would be talking at concerts. Now you're saying, wait a minute, Dave, don't you talk at concerts? Yes, I do. And I talk in a voice that is not meant for 1,000 people to hear. It's not meant for the quietest part of the show. It's not meant to be a constant conversation beside me or behind me. And even though my hearing ain't what it used to be, it's still pretty good. And I'd like to be able to hear what I came to watch, what I paid for to watch. I don't want to hear your conversation. If you're going to have a running conversation, that's one thing to say, I like this song, or wow, this is good, or I'm going to go get a beer. You want something? That's okay. That's a quick, but when I literally had people had running conversations, and you're almost begging the band, play louder so I don't have to hear these boobs. There's a rudeness involved. If you're not into the concert, and this is a problem, I have not been to the new Hard Rock facility because I can't afford to go in there. But in the early days of the Hard Rock Live, what casinos do, and Hard Rock is no exception. They do it in probably every casino venue that has a concert venue. Is that the biggest gamblers sometimes will get free tickets to shows. Here, you're great. We love you. Keep spending money. Here's a good seat. And sometimes these people are like, all right, I'll go for like 3 songs, and then I'll go back out and gamble, or go back to the bar or whatever. And so they don't give a crap. And so I think that was part of the problem with some of the audience. Others are just, I guess I look at it as a social occasion. If you want to go sit and talk with your friend, go eat, go to dinner, go to the bar, go to the casino. Get out of my life. Get out of my concert, man. Show some respect for the people who are there for the band. I don't go to concerts because I want to sit and have a conversation with somebody. I just don't. It is insanely rude. And inevitably, there's quiet moments in concerts. Maybe the artist is talking to the audience about something, or setting up another song, or maybe it's a quiet song, a contemplative love song, whatever. And I have to hear beep, 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 beep. I don't want to hear it anymore or ever. So, do I talk? Yes. My conversations tend to be quick, private. Like I'll lean over and say something to the person I'm with, and then over with. This doesn't make me Mr. Perfect at concerts, believe me, but it it's just a rudeness factor. And then, occasionally I have called people out when it gets so bad that I have to turn. Usually I give them the look first, and then if that doesn't work, then you say something. I do, because I'm not here for you. I'm here for them. That man, that woman, that band. I ain't there for you. Take it in the parking lot, go to the concession stand, go buy a t-shirt, get out of my life. Simple. All right. I'll give you a doobie review on Friday, and that should cover today, I think. Yeah, I think it does. So, well, you know what? One more thing. I mentioned the Orioles. I have to rip into my buddy Joe Casale just for a second. Okay. Now, I mean this with a smile on my face. Joe is a Yankees fan. He's, from that area originally. I get all of that. Whatever. Root for whoever want to root. In other words, he's not a Johnny come lately or a Joe come lately Yankees fan. He's the real deal. And he writes a lot on Facebook. And I'm an Orioles fan, have been since I was a kid. I did their public address announcing in Fort Lauderdale Stadium for about 8 years, 8 springs, spring training. That was my voice you heard, you know, for a while till they moved to Sarasota. Um, and they made me an offer I could refuse to go over there to do it. Um, so I'm a real fan. And listen, if you're an Orioles fan and you're still with the team after the last 5 or 6 years, you're a real fan. And this year has been particularly enjoyable because they're right around 500. I think they're a game under. Um, they're not going to have a 100 loss season. They've had some very dramatic victories, and they seem to be structured in a way that they haven't been before. They're built to, I hope, assuming everybody stays healthy, all these young guys that they're picking up will turn into a good team the old-fashioned way rather than buying it, because they tried that for a while, and they would always buy the wrong people on the downside of their careers who, oh, they got so and so, I've heard of him, and then I wish I hadn't heard of him. But anyway, Joe, I don't know. The Yankees lost a game to the Reds, who are bad this year. They're really bad, and they have a 14-game lead or 13-game lead, right, going into the break. And he writes about 4 days ago, tonight's a must win. No, no, no. When you have a 14-game lead in the middle of July, you don't have must wins. You can absorb a couple of losses. It's going to be okay. Come on, Joe. Come on. Come on. I had to laugh. I just had to, because that's one spoiled dude right there. That to me, when you're in my position and your franchise is just fighting for respectability, which I think they're getting to, and then you have the big, powerful, almighty king of the jungle teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees, and you got people, oh boy, 14-game lead. I don't know, man. I am nervous. No, just that will do it. I'll see you Friday.